Hello, welcome back to Bird Hunt 365. I'm DJ. We're in the reloading room today. Today we've got Chris's old Franchi 48AL. It's a nice old 12 gauge he's had for a long time. It's been in his family for a while. It's actually in pretty good shape considering its age. Nicks, dings, anything you expect from a shotgun that's been used. So it's actually in really good shape. So before we get too far into it, you guys can see there are no rounds in there. It is clear. So we are good to go. So Chris has basically told me that he's tried shooting this gun before with basic birdshot and stuff like that, and it's not cycling. Now in these they have governor rings inside here, and I almost guarantee you when we get into this that beveled side is going to be up, which is meant for the higher brass. It's to help that recoil, so that way it's not killing your shoulder. Now, I'm not sure who exactly in his family did it, but somebody put a Packmeyer buttstock on this thing, which is fantastic. I love these. Chris wasn't sure how it was put on because there are glue seams on this, but there's no holes in the back like you'd normally see in a buttstock. Well, with these, there's a small slit on the top and the bottom that you kind of pinch the pad in, and you can see that kind of open up just barely, so you know where to put your screwdriver. But once you get your screwdriver kind of in there, it mars that up a little bit, and you'll be able to see the holes like a normal buttstock. But for the first time, that's what you're going to see. Just pinch it, you'll see a little bitty slit in there. I mean, just like an X-Acto knife, on top and the bottom where a normal screw would go, and that's where you put your flathead screwdriver. Make sure that you're using it doesn't have to be a gunsmith screwdriver, but just make sure you're using a regular screwdriver and not a multi-tool or multi-driver head, because when you do that, you put the screwdriver in there, it's actually going to mar that up a little bit more, and it's going to put a ring on the back. It's just going to be unsightly. So make sure you're using a regular flathead screwdriver to get those screws out of the buttstock pad when you're using the Packmeyer pads. So anyway, alright, so let's go ahead and let's break this down. The other thing that concerns me is the fact that he's had this gun for a long time, and it looks like somebody has put glue on this. We'll figure it out when we get into it. But that makes me scared because with these, and you'll see this in a minute, when you break these down to clean this, you have to take this pad off to take this take the whole buttstock off and then break this down and clean it. So that lets me know this gun has not been cleaned in some time. So let's stop talking. Let's go ahead and break this bad boy down and see what kind of conditions he's in. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is actually separate the forearm and the barrel from the actual part of the shotgun down here. And you'll do that by taking this cap off here. But with this one, because the barrel actually recoils into the gun, we're actually going to need to put pressure on the barrel and the forearm to take this off, because there's a spring inside here for the recoil since it's a semi-automatic. So you got to put pressure down, and again, when you're doing this, you can use the floor, you can use the table, whatever you do. Do not stick your face in front of this barrel. We just did a check to make sure there's no ammo in there, but one of the main safety rules: do not point a gun at anything you did not attempt to destroy. I don't want to destroy my face, so I'm not sticking my face in front of this barrel, and I do not recommend that you do it. Just treat every gun like it is loaded. Alright, so on the floor, pressing down on the barrel. Gonna load this up. That just screws right off like that, like a normal shotgun cap would. Lefty right, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So set that to the side. Now when you let go of this, it's actually gonna slide up. So slide it up. Go ahead and take the forearm off first, like so, and then you'll be able to lift the barrel off like so. Alright, on the bench now. Let's see here. So you've got your friction and tension rings here, which is this brass and blued part. Just kind of take that off. And if that blued steel comes off of this, it's not a big deal. It's easy to put back on. But we're going to go ahead and clean these apart here. And it looks like there is oil on this. I don't know if Chris oiled this in an attempt to get that friction to go down. Not completely wrong, but alright, so let's see here. And this is your actual governor ring here. And just like I thought. So there's a beveled side. Let me try to see if I can get this where you can see it here. There is a beveled side here and then on the opposite side it's flat. So you can see the flat surface here. If that is facing the end of the barrel, that is for your light loads, birdshot and what have you. With the beveled side, you can see how that's not flat, it's actually beveled right here. If that side is facing the end of the barrel, that is for your Highland and higher brass shot, because that'll help reduce the felt recoil in the gun. So because this was facing the end of the barrel, he was using regular birdshot. That's why it wasn't cycling properly, because there's too much friction, which is easily fixed by flipping that around and sticking that back over the tube. But we're going to continue on with breaking this thing down. So we're going to remove the spring. The spring looks good. I'm going to clean it off. And now we're going to tackle this buttstock and see exactly what we have going on with it. Alright, we got the old shotgun locked down. Get it in there. Well, kind of feel around for the screw. Well, let me get down here in the bottom one real quick. As you can kind of see in the buttstock, it kind of puts a little bit of more on the pad, but that's okay. This shotgun's still going to work just fine. Kind of feel around in here and get this. Come on. There it goes. Let it go. Alright, now let's get back up here. Let's see. I'm not feeling a screw. Yeah, it's odd. Why am I not feeling a screw? Okay. Let's have a look here. Alright, there's definitely glue inside here. Let me see if I can move this around. Alright, so I don't understand. You can definitely see there's glue inside here. You can see where it's kind of look like caulking right here, where they put glue in this. But I am not feeling a screw. Let's take this. See if we can't. Yeah, oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, there's all kinds of glue in there. Alrighty. Let's see if we can't cut this out here. Alright, so I got this cleaned off, and what's happened is they had the hole here, and there's a hole here. You can see where it's darker right there for the original pad that was on here, and they have epoxied these holes back in. So I'm assuming that at one point they wallered them out and they couldn't get the screws to hold on anymore, so they epoxied this and this here. You can really see it down here in the bottom where they filled it in with epoxy and then just came back, drilled it out, and then put the screw in here. But with this side, because of the Packmeyer pad, the screw would have ended up right here about where my finger, into my fingers at, and of course that's the open cavity to get down there to that screw. So that's going to be an interesting one. So we're going to move forward with disassembly and cleaning this thing, and we're going to tackle this a little bit later. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove that bolt that's in here. It doesn't look that far, but I promise you it's a good piece down in there. Flathead screwdriver, or take that out. Let's go ahead and knock that out real quick. Alright. Let's get that out of there. Alright, well that was fun. So this is supposed to be, this rod right here is supposed to be attached to this piece here. So normally you would have this right here still attached and the spring inside here. But apparently what happened is that when we were taking the screw out, this actually turned here, separating, and when I was taking this out, once this got to the end here and these two pieces separated, that spring that was in there just tossed this forward. So let that be a lesson to you. That's the first time that's ever happened to me, but let that be a lesson. You may want to keep it, you know, just keep your hand on the receiver side and the buttstock in case that happens. Or if you start to feel, you know, if you start to see the gun push away, because you saw the crack right there as this was starting to go. If you start seeing that this has got tension on it, just know that this is what's going to happen. Because had I known that before, I could have prevented that from almost shooting out like that. So this right here detaches from here, which is normal, and the spring is inside there. So in the event, like I said, if that happens, just know that this is actually separated from here already, and now this entire thing's under tension, which is not what it's supposed to do. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to knock these pins out here. Just these two pins. Knock those two pins out, and once we do that, that's going to release this trigger assembly. So what I do is I take an old shop towel or a few shirts and I put them on top of the bench, which is also on top of a pad. But when I put it down, I put it in here, and it allows the pins to go through onto this. It keeps this from scuffing up, but it also helps support this. Alright, so I'm going to be using a 1/8 brass punch. Knock these guys out. Real simple. Flip that over. Work those out. One. It's got a little bit of tension on it still. Should just be able to push that out. There we go. And then that slides out. Put those up here. And then the trigger assembly just comes right off like so. Alright, so just to show you real quick, now that we got this trigger assembly out of the way, you have this follower that's inside this right here. A lot of times that'll just, well, that'll just come out like this. Normally, when you take this tube off here with the spring inside there, most of the time this will actually just fall right out with it behind it. Just lift it up and let gravity take its course. With this one, because it, you know, again, it's rather dirty, it stayed up inside there. But yeah, it just goes inside that channel here, and it just sets right inside there. Now it actually goes inside this, but that's, just wanted to show you guys that. So if that comes out, that is normal. Take that out, clean that. Alright, so now I'm going to take the actual bolt out, charging handle. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to take this link here, this link rod that connects it to the back. You're going to lift this up. So in my case it's up, but it's towards where the trigger would be. So lift this up, slide the bolt back, and this is actually going to allow you to release the charging handle. So just push the charging handle back out of the way, back here, and then push the bolt forward. Now this here is spring loaded. Okay, let me show you that. This actually hits there. So what you got to do to pass that is push the link down, which pushes that underneath, and you can see how that slides up underneath there. And then you just push this forward. Now this gun is rather dirty, so it's got grime and stuff on the track inside there. So what I'm going to do is just set this down on the bench, take a flathead screwdriver, just give it a little bit of pressure, and it slides out like such. And then once that's out of the way, just take your charging handle, move it forward, and it comes right out. Alright, next we're going to take the actual bolt apart, which there's only really two pins on here that you got to take apart, because I'm not going to mess with the extractor, because it's just a little bit of stuff right there. If you need to, you can blow it out with some solvent or a air or anything you got. But so basically the first pin you got is right here that actually holds this lock down, and you got one side that's kind of rounded right there. It looks like it's inset a little bit, and then on the other side you can see that this side is actually a little bit, let me see if I can get in here with this dark, that is actually bigger than this side. If you look straight on, you can kind of tell that side is a little bit bigger than this side. So you're going to put your punch in this side and push through. Now I'm going to be using a 3/32 punch. Now remember that this is under tension back here, so you want to put your hand in the way. So I rotate it here and put my hand in the way of this, so that way if it pops out, it's not going to take off on me. Push that the rest of the way through, and there is pressure on my thumb right now. If I let that go, that sucker's going to shoot out at me. Put that pin there. There's that, and your spring comes out like that. And then flip this over, and this pin, a lot of times, this pin right here actually will just come right out. You can actually take this whole thing. If I can get this out of here. So you, come on. It'll drop down like that because it's in there really loose. I'm not gonna be able to grab my fingers in my. No. So after that's come out, and then just grab it with a pair of needle nose if you need to, but it really just slides right out. Not a problem. So that pin goes there. Your link comes out like so. Now you can take this, rotate that whole thing out like so. And if you notice, you got this groove right here, or this outset. You can see that on the inside of this, that's where that runs, right here, along the inside of that. So there's only, it really helps you with, there's only one way to put it in, one way to take it out. So you can see the groove, it goes in just like that. Alright, now that we got that out of there, we got the firing pin that's left. So basically we'll take this right here. Now you gotta be careful, because you look, this thing will zoom in here. Basically right here you can see all the way down through there. That is not a pin as much as it is rounded right there. Actually, you can see it better on this side here. See? So you want to make sure that your punch is big enough to go over this hole, but yet not too big to where it won't go through. So I'm going to run this with the 3/32 again. Now this time, when you're putting this down, make sure that you put your finger in front of this or something in front of this firing pin, because there's a spring behind it. It's going to keep, you know, so you want to keep your thumb or finger in front. Push through. Take that out of there like such. I'll set that up front. Take this pin out. Slowly release the firing pin. Firing pin comes out. Not too terrible. Definitely could use some TLC. And then the firing pin is still up in there. The spring rather. And then there is the spring for the firing pin. So now this is completely disassembled, and we're going to go through here, we're going to clean everything that we got in here, and then we're going to put it all back together. So stand by, we're going to clean all this out, put it back together.